Hey there. This is Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment, and I am just loving doing these mornings, doing videos outside. The weather could not be better. So today I wanted to go ahead and continue on the conversation or the readings that I was doing yesterday for Divine Union. And so again, this topic is for those of you on a path of relationship. So I've talked before that the path of romantic relationship, partnership is a very real path of our evolution. It's a path of the heart. It's a path of mastering the divine masculine and divine feminine. And this is not about gender per se, but it's more about our elemental expressions and how we come into union within ourselves and with partnership. So this is kind of going to piggyback on the video that I did yesterday, and I have a series of teachings that I've been given and have been working with that I'm wanting to share just to illustrate a little bit more about the lesser talked about divine union template. It is, it's a little bit more of a higher frequency template that is just coming in, and that I personally am just also stepping into the learning process of it. So I don't have its full mastery, but I've been invited and guided to start sharing about this now. So yesterday we talked about, this balancing and finding this coherent signature that happens within this higher realm. Because it's really what we're looking at as what is this fifth dimensional and beyond expression of intimate relationships going to be and look like, and how we are evolving into that. We could say in some ways that, even our conscious relationships or, or even our sacred partnerships, even though they're growing in more levels of awareness and I would say maturity, right? So this is really about this spiritual maturation process in all ways that we're undergoing right now. I don't know if you guys can hear with this Bluetooth. It is really loud out here. We got a lot of chattering going on with these blue jays. So if we can start to look at that, we've been operating as our norm from kind of like a prepubescent and teenage level of maturity. And where we're going is into more of these adult maturities. And this adulting goes beyond just how we operate in the material plane. And I talk about this in a lot of my other, areas, the other templates and integrated mapping systems of my work that bring about, a holistic way of life, that holy wholeness within us, and of whole life wellness through relational intimacy and embodiment. So there's been the way in which I lost my track there for a minute. Intelligence. So we have been programmed and conditioned how to operate in the material plane through, material intelligence, we can say, through the intelligence of our intellect, the way of, our IQ has been highly developed for our survival and for living in a way that hopefully meets the needs and desires so that we can live comfortably, although that isn't always the case, right? Depending on what your desires truly are and your own karma. But that IQ that has been sort of just 3D based is now moving into emotional IQ, embodiment, meaning somatic IQ, which is that energetic IQ. So our intelligence is expanding. And I also like to bring this into relational IQ, right? We're learning through conscious relationship and sacred partnership how to evolve and increase our relationship intelligence. That involves our communication, our levels of honesty, our levels of vulnerability, our levels of self-love. And this is all in a couple other videos that I did previously, and I'll link a couple of those to this or below in the comments. So the newest template that's coming in is really about our higher levels of being that are guiding us towards greater levels of maturity, integrity, emotional connection, spiritual connection within relationship. So I want to go ahead and just sort of jump in where we left off yesterday with this guidance. And you can go back to the other video, the one that came before this, and I'll link it in this video specifically. I'll put the link at the end of this video. So the guides go on to talk about that there is the practice of embodying proper restraint and release. This offers the creation of right relationship in all relationships via living from integrity and honesty and empowered by vulnerability. So I really love that concept of the power of vulnerability, because that power of vulnerability sets us up in a place that is not fear-based, but it's in this trust that when I am deeply connected with my own feelings, with my own truth, with my own vulnerabilities and strengths, I can meet you more effectively, more honestly, with more integrity, and we can come together in a much more both independent and interdependent, a sovereign and yet interconnected way of being and of living. So when they're talking about this, restraint and release, I think I've only really touched the tip of really what it is that they're saying, but we can look at this from the perception of the masculine and feminine, right? So the feminine knows how to let go. The feminine knows how to open up and expand, how to surrender. And that's part of that feminine mojo, right? It's part of that elements of the water and earth that create a bit of that softness, and I'm going to say like this deeper faith and trust. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to allow what is right and true to show up. And then the masculine has that way of control. So we could say that, the restraint might be, how do I contain myself? all of my energy in a way that allows me to be deeply connected to me first, to know my truth first, not operating from impulses, not operating, which allows karmic impulses to begin to dissolve. If I'm not reacting, right, with the fire and air that moves quick, but I'm holding a dynamic tension of both fire and air, which have they're action oriented. So from that masculine place, I can use discernment. I can check in on appropriateness. It offers the creation of a right relationship. So I can use my masculine focus to support the safety in the releasing and letting go and trusting. Okay, so this becomes like this yin and yang, right? This inner yin and yang. So when we're coming into let's say the conscious relationship or the sacred partnership, we're coming into self-responsibility for how I respond to things, how I act, and taking responsibility for both. And both parties are learning that we don't have to take certain things personal. We don't take them personal when we've healed and alchemized our triggers that is our wounding. So when we do this, we can be more in a deeper level of integrity, honesty, vulnerability. So I think that's all I need to say there, because a lot of this starts to go into like more of the nuanced details of actually walking this path and doing this inner work. So that would probably be easier to ascertain what these right amounts are based on every individual circumstance and experience and where you're at within these levels, right, of learning. So the next paragraph goes on to say, as this maturity and frequency takes root, we hold our experience of safety in all expressions, in love and trust in the divine and our innate divinity. So sacred partnership is introducing us more and more to the divine in you and the divine in me. When I know my own divinity more deeply, my deeper presence, right? Who am I in the silence of my being, in the core of my solitude? Can I be in the core of my solitude and be in my life from that place so that I'm anchoring in that presence so I can meet you in that place, which is that soul expression that's opening up to my divinity. This is a level of maturity, right, that we're moving into. It's a level of spiritual intelligence that we're moving into. The frequencies, again, are going to be softer. They're going to be gentler. The fire is going to hold a passion that is not an all-consuming or or a misguiding passion. It's going to be a passion of the soul and heart connected. It's a passion of a deep knowing of who we are in our union together and what we bring on deeper and higher levels of expression. And as we grow into these spaces, the energetics that are formed together create transformation in life in general, in our lives individually, and in the life of the union. So when we're talking about like these levels of integrity and honesty, right, empowered by vulnerability, and how through all of this we gain greater safety in the expressions of love. So I want to hearken back to, to an experience, I think, the way that I have understood my relationship, my relational journey, right? My sacred journey of partnership was that many of my karmic seeds, let's say, were dormant. And I'm going to invite everyone to just sort of look at this perspective. This may or may not resonate for you, but my guess is this holds some truth for all of us. So I started out the video yesterday talking about this innocence, this deeper innocence. So my first love, because it was that first love, and because for me it was this opening of my own spiritual journey within sacred relationship. Not that I would have known anything about that then, but I was operating from a relatively healthy space and place while I was within the container of the relationship. That relationship invited me into more of the truth of who I was. Because outside, in my regular life, I was starting to activate my karma, right? The stuff, the deeper stuff, my shadow stuff that I was going to need to walk through my life and experience. And so that first relationship opened me up more to a deeper presence within me, a deeper level of who I knew I could be. Even though I was, 17, 18 years old, there was something in me that was already awakening along my spiritual journey, and I did know that. But my, my partner, my boyfriend, he was already operating as well. Not to say that, there wasn't karma there too, but he was also operating from this beautiful honesty and vulnerability and deep integrity that I felt immediately safe in. And even when I remember on our first date, I made a comment about my destructiveness, the destructive behaviors that I'd been, exuding over the previous couple years. And his response to me was that he was glad that he didn't know me then, because he probably wouldn't have liked me. Now, that could have hit me in like a deep, oh my God, I'm being rejected, or I've said too much, or I'm bad, or I'm wrong. And I remember feeling like, wow, like this, wow, what an amazing, honest statement. He didn't say it judgmentally. He didn't say it in any way. It was very matter of fact. He communicated it simply and beautifully. And immediately I felt safe. I trusted him to be honest and forthright with me. And I opened myself up even more to being able to receive that as a form of, I didn't know it at the time, his self-love and his ability to be truthful with himself and with me. So I rested in that safety. And there was a lot of opposites, for sure, and I know that those opposites supported one another. You know, he grounded my wildness, so to speak, and I opened up spontaneousness in his grounded and more conservative ways. But that empowered, I'll say me, I don't know how it was for him, but that empowered my sense of vulnerability because I trusted his honesty and his communication and his integrity. And it allowed me then to be also more honest and, you know, more free with who I was. And that wasn't always easy to be on the receiving end of. And then after that relationship ended, you know, deep, deep, deep heartbreak. And that sent me exactly into deep shadow work. My alcoholism, deep dysfunctional shadow relationships, until I gradually started climbing my way out to the other side to circle back around into very healthy relationships where I could return back to and be with another who was also able to carry that same kind of coding, right? Of deep, true honesty, clarity, you know, precision, that masculine, right? There's like this practice of this is what I can say, and I'm gonna be a balanced, contained force when I communicate this. And you know, so whichever side of this coin we're on, we both are learning and growing from it. So our early relationships, and I believe that the whatever that catalyst relationship is that sets us into that deep heartbreak and sets us in and awakens all of our stories and lies and, you know, illusions and woundings, there's a lot to be thankful for in that. And for me, it gave me a mirror of what I wanted to establish in myself so that I could trust myself, right? So that I could cultivate those levels of integrity and honesty and vulnerability and groundedness. And that has been a journey. And to get back to where I felt a deeper sacred connection of my own truth. And so that was for me, and I invite everyone to maybe do some journaling about that catalyst time for you and look at it through the eyes of the sacred. Look at it through the beauty of that orchestration and those beings and souls coming together that opened us up to do the deeper dive and the deeper work within ourselves so that we could evolve within partnership. So I think I want to wind this down. So we want to recognize that we're always seeing these parts. When we're on our best behavior for someone, say we meet somebody new and we want to show them the best of who we are. I've heard some people kind of feel manipulated by this, or like, oh, well, they only showed me this, as if there was something malicious in this. But I want to put another slant on this, that when we are feeling a deep connection with somebody, there is an invitation, I believe, that we are being invited into our highest good. And it's not solely just to make a good impression or to, lure somebody in, as some people think. I'm not saying that never happens, that there's never like manipulation or maliciousness, but what I want to bring to the forefront is that on a soul level, we have a truth in us. On a spiritual plane, we are inherently honest and powerfully vulnerable and carry integrity. We carry the codes for these maturity levels, for these ways of operating that are uplifted and not just from the lower chakras. And we're being invited to say yes to those, to cultivate those, and to be grateful for the mirror that is helping us to see those parts of ourselves. And to know that, oh, this is truly who I am. My wounds are going to come into play, but this is what I'm shooting for, and I have access to it. And I cannot only rely on this person to bring out my best behavior. I need to be responsible for becoming that in and of myself. And if it matches with that person continuously, or somebody else, or it circles back around, whatever that is, then it's bringing a deeper girth of that wisdom and expression, and we hold that experience of safety in the other because we trust their integrity, safety in ourselves because we trust our integrity. And in the divine union, ultimately, we are trusting the presence of our divinity and of source to be in the mix. We come into devotion to that highest good, and it allows us to come into the devotion to self and the other, so that we're moving into a divine container of next leveling together. I hope that's landing. More to come.